Welcome to BBB Building Better Business, where we sit down and talk to local industry leaders, prominent community members throughout New England. I'm Paula Fleming, the host. I am Chief Marketing and Sales Officer of the Better Business Bureau, serving Eastern Mass, Maine, Vermont, and Rhode Island. And today we are going to sit down with Stephanie Cronin from Middlesex 3 Coalition. Welcome, Stephanie.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
So I'm excited because I actually don't know much about Middlesex 3 Coalition. So it's an opportunity for you to educate me and then all of our viewers as well. So first, let's talk a little bit about you, who you are, what brought you to this role, and what you play as a part of the organization, because I do know it's a nonprofit organization, correct? So let's just chat about you first, and then we'll get into the organization.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. I am the Executive Director of the Middlesex 3 Coalition. Actually, let me tell you about the coalition first, and then I can explain more of why the role, because it kind of all works together.
Okay.
So the Middlesex 3 Coalition, we are a public-private partnership. We're a regional economic development organization, and we were created in 2012 with the idea that it's better to work together than as individual communities or companies. So our role is to bring the public and the private sector together to address the business development concerns that are difficult for one community or one company to address on their own.
Okay.
So we do a lot with transportation. We do a lot with workforce development, infrastructure, really looking at how to make the area just a better, more livable area, and a place where companies can come as well too, and expand and grow their businesses.
Okay, that's a lot.
Sorry.
No, it's just a lot. I want to put a little bit more into what you said, which is first, what is your area in which you service? Is it? I know it's 978, correct? So where is that?
So we represent 10 municipalities along the Route 3 corridor,
okay.
and so in Middlesex County, and that's how we started, because there are actually 2 Route 3s in Massachusetts. There's one south of Boston and one north of Boston. And so we wanted to create an identity for the communities north of Boston. So we include Lexington, Burlington, Bedford, Billerica, Chelmsford, Westford, Tewksbury, Kingsborough, City of Lowell, 10 Carlisle, so 10 communities, and about 150 businesses. And it's really the larger businesses. We don't try to take the place of a chamber. The chamber does a great job. We really work with the larger businesses in the region to bring them together to collaborate around some of these larger issues. So transportation was always the biggest issue that we had pre-COVID. And it was really a question of how do we get our workers to work? Because it all comes back to workforce. And so we created a transportation management association, which has shuttles that go from Boston and Cambridge up to the Route 3 corridor, because there are a lot of people who live in the city who don't have cars, or there are advantages to getting together and not necessarily getting into your single occupancy vehicle and driving by yourself. So it's really just ways that we can collaborate and bring people together around issues that are important to us.
And you are funded by the larger businesses or by the government, or both?
Yep, or both. So it's really, it is a collaboration among the municipalities, the businesses, and the state as well too. It's really the state that brought us together so that we can do more together as a region.
Okay. And can you talk, obviously you mentioned the pandemic, and then getting people to work is probably shifted a bit since many people are now working from home, especially with the larger businesses. Can you talk a little bit about what your recent wins are?
So yeah, you're right. Before the pandemic, we had a number of shuttles on the road, and that was just really growing because there are a lot of people from the city going into the municipalities. That has decreased. It hasn't stopped, but it certainly has decreased. And we certainly do see that so many of the companies that we work with have been able to successfully pivot to working from home. It leads to a number of different concerns that, we're aware of so many of them. with the smaller businesses, the restaurants, the retailers, and that are really hurting. So we are trying to see how we can bridge the work of the larger businesses and help out the smaller businesses as well too, because we know we want those smaller businesses to get through this, right? We want to make sure we have that ecosystem, that business ecosystem available for us, so that we're able to grow once this is all behind us.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. If you have, a lot of small businesses watch this vlog, but also mid to larger size businesses. So for those watching, what would you like them to know about the organization? How can they get involved, and what are the benefits of getting involved?
So I guess there are really a couple of different areas, and one thing that we do try to do is, and really our role is to bring organizations, companies, communities, municipalities together. So at the beginning of all this, we've had weekly, which turned into monthly meetings with all of our municipalities coming together to discuss what's going on in their worlds, so that Chelmsford can learn from Westford and Lowell and vice on and on. And really just to share ideas and such as well too, and to see what works in one community and how it can work for another community as well too. So that's kind of a lot of the work that we've been trying to do, and then we bring it into a larger forum as well too, with the larger businesses and bringing our businesses together. So we just had an event, and we have events probably every other week, and I can get into more detail on what those are, but we just had an event last week with Congressman Seth Moulton on the future of defense. And we brought our defense companies together to look at what are their needs, what are their concerns, how can we work together as a region again? And so much of it, like I said earlier, it comes down to workforce development. How can we make certain that we're training the people that our businesses need in order to be employed tomorrow and the next 5 or 10 years as well too. So the community colleges, UMass Lowell, Northeastern University in Burlington, the technical schools, a lot of the high schools that we work with all of them, whether it's on our workforce development subcommittee or on our board of directors, or we just have a good relationship, because this area is very good at collaborating and bringing people together. And if Middlesex Community College can't offer a program, we know that UMass Lowell can, and they work together to see who can, or create it as well too. Again, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
no, you are.
Okay.
I just think you do so much that it's, and it's such a different type of organization that there's a lot for people to learn. And so for people that are tuning in, what would be the top, if you were to say, get involved today? What are typically the top 3 reasons someone gets involved with the organization?
So again, stepping back, we don't want to be a chamber. We don't want to take the place of a chamber, because they do a great job with bringing their businesses together. What we try to do is, we were never created to be a networking group, but it just comes about naturally as well too. And so what we try to do is really more of create the relationships, build the contacts, so that you're then able to then create a good project in the region as well. And so and a lot of it, what I like about our organization is every year it grows, it changes, whether we expand the communities, the companies, the work that we do. So for example, with COVID, like everyone else, we've pivoted, have a lot of Zoom events as well too. So we do, and the pros and cons to that as well too, right? And a lot of cons, but there are some pros. And we have monthly real estate forums where we look at different areas of the economy, whether it's restaurants or retail, or we're doing one on hospitality or housing, distribution centers, life science centers, just different areas that we look at to see what is the future, what's going on in those areas, how can we do better, and it's also how can our municipalities learn from it as well too. How can we bring our planning departments together with our developers, so that they're on the same page and that they're not butting heads, but we're coming together to create something that works for the whole region. So we have events, whether it's our real estate forums, whether we have a monthly event called What's Happening in Middlesex 3. And it's a way to open up the doors to let people know what's happening in different municipalities, whether it's Billerica, or Burlington, or Bedford, or whatever, or different companies, Kronos, or iRobot, or Millipore, or larger companies, Hanscom Air Force. We work closely with them too, because there's so much going on, and it's just a way for people to get an idea of what's happening in these companies in the communities as well too. One thing I will say as well too is one thing would I go back to what we talked about earlier about just two different worlds. How the larger companies and the smaller companies are faring. And one thing we're trying to do is create more programs. And whether it's I was just talking with someone, we put a grant in for a restaurant program, hopefully for gift card programs. So to encourage our larger companies to purchase gift cards, support our restaurants now when they need the help the most. So hopefully in the summer or when things get better, more businesses can go down and explore, what's going on in downtown Lowell or Chelmsford or wherever, because there's so much going on in each of these different communities. Right. So how can we help to create that awareness for it?
And you talk a lot about employees and workforce development and working with the colleges. So based on what you're saying, I'm hearing is that you're focused on hiring people from within the community, from the colleges that surround our communities into these larger companies and bridging that gap as well as connecting the, graduates with the larger employees. Is that factual?
Absolutely. And we have subcommittees in our top areas of transportation, real estate and infrastructure, economic development, as well as workforce development.
Okay.
And so part of it is bringing the colleges, the companies together, making certain that they have the relationships, so that and that's what it all comes down to, right? Is relationships. Yeah. And so, but it's also, there are training grants that are available that companies put money into. It's through the unemployment insurance program. And so we try to help the companies get that money back in terms of training grants. And so whether it's the community college, UMass Lowell, Mass Hire, Northeastern, whoever can provide training for these companies in order to provide additional skills to the employees and that make them that much more, help them in their job search, their job quest. It's not really a search though. You have to be employed to get the funding.
Okay. If people want to find out more about the coalition, how do they do that?
So they can go to our website, Middlesex3.com. And there's information there. They can certainly reach me as well too. It's Cronin@Middlesex3.com. And be happy to talk with them about that. If they live or work in one of our 10 communities, we work very closely with the municipalities in those communities, and I guess that would be those, or LinkedIn or Twitter and
social media platforms.
Yeah, Middlesex 3
Coalition. Okay.
Twitter is Middlesex 3. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So follow along to keep abreast of what's going on. Now, tell me about the events. Any upcoming events that people should be on the watch for?
Yes. We've got a number of events. We have one next week on innovative housing. And housing's, I'm sure you hear about it all the time. Obviously it's a huge issue, but it's an issue for our companies as well too. It's hard to attract people if they can't afford to live here.
Right.
So we're focused on ways that we can create additional housing as well too. And so our event next week is on innovative housing concepts. So other items than just single occupancy housing. So tune in for that as well too. We have other events coming up. We have one we're working on what's happening in our communities, whether the town of Bedford, town of Burlington. So our what's happening in events. We have a meeting with Lori Trahan coming next week as well too, Congresswoman Trahan. We have, let's see, our housing. what else do we have on?
Sounds like a lot, and it's probably available on your website as well.
On our website as well.
Okay, and do people register?
Yep. They can just click on there. Yep.
And it's free?
No, it's it's free for our members. We are a membership-based organization.
That's
It's
fine.
$25 otherwise, but they can also see our past events on our YouTube channel too.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, again, an advantage to Zoom, right?
Right.
So that's at Middlesex 3 is our YouTube channel.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your time. And it's a pleasure to meet you virtually and get to learn more about the organization. And for people tuning in, obviously via our Vimeo, you can also find out more information at bbb.org. And we encourage you to learn more. It is all about relationships, and that's why we do this. It's all about education and working together so we come out stronger on the other end. Thank you again, and goodbye for now.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.